Hello and welcome to another video on the channel. LWD Adnan here with another how-to. This is on city car driving. As you can tell by the title, it's just a little startup guide. If you're new to the game, you just want to know how to set everything up. I'll guide you through creating a profile, go through the settings a little bit, and yeah, hopefully you'll find this useful. Should be pretty short, so let's get to it without wasting much more time. So this is the main page. So once you downloaded the game or installed it through whichever manner you've chosen, this is the main menu page. So let's just go to profile, and of course this is my profile that's already there, and here you'll find your statistics nicely titled. So you can see literally everything, from your achievements to the penalty points you've conquered driving, whether it's on challenges or missions, or just within your free drive. So you're going to want to create a new one. For the sake of this video, let's just call it a new profile. Of course, it's completely up to you which name you want to give it. Your driving region, so once you choose a driving region, so for example, by default we have United States of America, USA. So if you now select this, you'll see American road signs. There'll be American rules. So for example, if you can turn right at a red light, if it's safe to do so, and you'll see the AI doing so. And of course, during missions you won't be given a penalty or a deduction of points if you do so. But then of course you can't do so if you go, for example, onto the European Union driving region, for the simple fact that, of course, in Europe, if you're from Europe, you know that there is no such thing as any turn on a red light. A red light means a red light, it means stop. So completely up to you. There is this it's a small variety, but I think it's wide enough for the spectrum of players that do play. Unfortunately, there's no UK, as I'm from the UK, so I usually just choose European Union. I feel like it's the closest. But then you've got more specific ones. You've got Germany, you've got Russian Federation, and you've also got Australia. So plenty, but let's choose European Union for now. And here's a little guide. So as you can see, European Union, in Europe you drive right, apart from the UK. I mean, depending on time you're watching this, UK could be part of Europe, UK probably won't, but at this current time, just about still part of Europe. So everywhere in Europe do drive on the right hand side except for the UK, and if Australia, drive on the left hand side. So you got a little different detailed information there. So let's just go back to the European Union. Let's press new, and it should simply load a new profile with completely refreshed statistics, and that's it really. Then you press select, so you select the profile, of course, and it takes you back to the main menu, whereas now you're on that new profile that you've created. If you want to do career mode, simply go to career, and you have all these different difficulties, starting from potential driver all the way up to special training. And as you can see, 3-star rating for pretty much each one. And in the description is a sort of guide on how to get each star. So I'm sure one is just for completing the mission. And for example, so you do the simple exercise just to get one achievement. So each star represents an achievement. You get another star for doing it without scoring any penalties, and you get a 3rd star for doing the exercise in less than 3 minutes. That's just one example. As you can see, each one has their own different description with different guide, and of course you can select your vehicle from here. So you've got a range of different vehicles, and it's completely up to you what you want to choose. Now if you go to free driving and now in free driving, this is where you choose your vehicle, you choose everything from this list here that I'll go through very shortly, and you just drive. You can choose routes, or you can, go without a route. You can choose whether you want warnings, whether you don't want warnings. It's very, very, very flexible. So, whatever you want to do, there's an option for you 100%. For example, let's start, by going to area, for example. So you can see here we've got two options: the old city, which is, it's always been a city car driving, and we've got a new city which was added a few years back, if I'm not mistaken, which is slightly more modern looking. It's a bit smaller, or at least it feels quite a bit smaller than the old city, and it's pretty, I want to say it's hard on frames, but it's definitely harder than the old city on your frames. So you're definitely going to get a lower frame rate playing on the new city map. But you are rewarded with, a much more modern looking city. But let's take the old city for now anyway. And you have all these different areas of the old city where you can select, and within those areas you can see each flag which represents a starting point in that area. So as you can see, there's plenty of variation, and you also notice that you have two areas which are grey. So first one being the southern district, and the second one being the mountainous area. So these two, you are simply locked for the moment until you complete some of the missions, and you'll be able to unlock them one by one as you go through your career. Unfortunately, there's no other way to do this unless you find some sort of tool online that you can use to unlock everything for you, and I may or may not have that at hand. So if you do want me to make a video as a tutorial on how to use that tool, just let me know in the comments, and I can do so. And for the new city, we only have a few, as I said, the map is quite a lot smaller than the original map, and you can tell just by how fewer areas you have to begin in. And beneath those two options, you have a map. So new city and the old city, and you can see the substantial difference in size and also variation. Old city has this little area here which is like an off-roading section, which is purely dirt roads and mountains pretty much, and you have the main city and you have the highway, whereas with the new city you have one like main highway that goes around and also does cut in through the city, and then you just have districts. It's not really, there's no off-roading, there's no mountainous area, there's no hard terrain. It's really just city driving. I mean, it's in the name as well, it is called New City. So if you go back and we head to, so now you can see that we've selected New City there. Now if you head to transport, now if you have the standard game and you haven't installed any mods, this will be grayed out for you. So because I have some mods from the Steam Workshop, as I have this game through Steam, this is now green, and I can choose the option to choose a custom vehicle, which I only have 2 of at the moment, but we'll get to that in a second. So you have a list here, and if I go down this way, actually let's go down the proper way. So the cars you have unlocked from the beginning are these until you get to here, and as you can see beneath the vehicle, it tells you when you'll be able to drive the vehicle. So this specific one here will be available after you've gained 8 achievements, and that's 8 achievements within career mode. And if you keep going, this one is after 16, we got 31, 31 and 31 for the rest of them. So you do get rewarded based on how well you do through career mode. And if you want to drive modded vehicles, you just head over to custom, and I'm sure, as you can imagine, all the vehicles are automatically unlocked, of course. So any vehicle you have here will be ready to drive as soon as possible. And below the vehicle you have, of course, the color. Completely up to you what color you want to use. Now if we head back to standard, you have 2 options here: automatic gearbox. So of course you can tick it if you want to drive a car with an automatic gearbox. However, note that some vehicles can only be driven as a manual, some can only be driven as an automatic, and others can be driven as both. So keep that in mind. For example, this one is a manual only, as you can see here. In the car description area, we have the speed, we have the engine power, the drive type, etc. It does say transmission type and number of gears, manual transmission 5. So this is, it's only a manual. It does not give you an option or a description of an automatic transmission. However, if you keep moving, we now have a vehicle with an automatic transmission with 4 gears, and it has a manual option with 6 gears. So, and as you can see now, I now have the ability to check whichever one I want, or we move on to this one next. But as for specifically the automatic gearbox checkbox, we can now tick it or uncheck it as we wish. And below that, we have the anti-lock brake system, ABS. Simply, if it's off and you slam the brakes, your car will go skidding uncontrollably, if you're going too fast. And if you have it checked, then when you slam the brakes, the system will, as you're holding the brake, the system will it will brake and release the brakes, brake and release the brakes, brakes and release the brakes in quick succession, which allows you to have more control over the car, number one, and gives for a shorter stopping distance, so it's much safer. So you're pretty much you're going to want to check this if it's possible. And for these two options, if I'm not mistaken, these are only for the standard vehicles in the game. So L plate is literally, as you can see here, it's just an L on the top of the vehicle. At the end of the day, this is a simulator to help you drive, so you're basically a learner driver. Or you can have a novice sign, which would either be on the back or on one of the sides of the vehicle. Or of course, you can choose to have absolutely nothing at all and enjoy a car that's completely free and doesn't scream, hey, I'm a learner, or hey, watch me, I don't know how to drive. So that's completely up to you. Below that, we have your season, weather, time of day option. So at the top, you have the seasons, so you can choose from summer, autumn, or winter. And we have the sort of weather that you'd want. You choose from clear, humid, which is just fog. Humid is fog, but a wet floor. So that sort of atmosphere you get after rain. So you got, it's a bit humid. It's the floor is pretty wet. You can see the wood. You can see the lights reflecting on the floor. It's pretty slippery. It's not the most grippiest of surfaces. That's humid. Foggy, of course, is just fog, and rain is just constant rain. There's no variation of rain that falls. It's just at a set speed. There's no heavy rain. There's no light rain. It's just one level of rain, if that makes sense. And of course, at the very bottom, we have the time of day. You can choose from morning, daytime, evening, or nighttime. Now, head back and go to traffic. Here you have a few options. You can choose from the traffic density. So what this means is simply how much traffic you want on the road. And as you move the slider, you can see that as the percentage changes, there's also a description that changes to match the percentage, which is just a little explanation of that percentage of traffic. So for example, 20% traffic is, just a bit of traffic basically. And you do get the odd, 1 or 2 car traffic jam here and there. Whereas if you turn it up to 80%, it just really explains itself, to be completely honest with you. Basically every road, has heavy traffic. Traffic behavior. So this is the behavior of the AI. So if you turn it all the way up, you will see that cars are overtaking, speeding, pulling out pretty, not in a way that you describe as safe. And if we turn it down to the very bottom, you get cautious traffic. So imagine, I'd love to see this in real life. I don't think I ever will in this day and age, but this is when everyone drives with the utmost safety. Everyone takes it easy, everyone's going slowly, everyone's giving each other time. Again, another one that really describes itself. And the final one is pedestrian traffic density, which is literally the amount of pedestrians out and about. So this game does have feature pedestrians. If we turn this all the way down, there's no pedestrians at all. And if you turn it all the way up, as you can see, streets are overcrowded. And this also means, keep in mind, that the more pedestrians you have, the more pedestrians that will be crossing the road, which may cause congestion for you. You might be waiting longer at crossings, etc., etc. Next, you have route generation. So, free route is basically, it gives you a route to take, which kind of, I think this is maybe a mistake from the developers, I'm not too sure, but free route does, if you have this checked, it does give you a route to follow when you're driving. And here you can choose the parameters, so how often you want to be giving the route, and of course how long you want it, and how short you want them. I have them both maxed out because I just like driving and following long routes. No violations permitted. So what this means is, if you do violate a traffic code or a law, for example, speed, or drive without your running lights, or if you exceed a red light, for example, this will just kind of reset you, and it'll be taken back to the beginning. Minor violations allowable, and this pretty much explains itself. So, I'm assuming if you speed by a few miles per hour or a few kilometers per hour, it won't be too much of a big deal. I can't think too much other things that would count as minor violations, and that will go underneath that list. But yeah, and point limit route is just your how many points you the maximum number of points that you can incur, basically. So let's uncheck that. And finally, we have emergency situations, which basically describes itself. So you have a lot of different situations, and the slider chooses the, through the slider you choose the frequency of those. So not only do you have just situations that involve other drivers along the road or pedestrians, but you also have faults within your own vehicle. So if you go underneath this green bar here, you will see that these are all failures that can happen within your own vehicle. And so it's completely up to you how you want to play this. And then you get kind of the miscellaneous stuff. So when a traffic light's not functioning well, or if you want like a sort of police officer or a traffic police kind of signaling traffic rather than traffic lights. And if you want to experience being on the influence of alcohol as you drive, then you're more than welcome to do so. And then after that, you just press start, and you'll be placed on the road as you wish, to be honest, because with the amount of options, it's really down to you, how you want to drive, with what rules, if any at all, how busy you want the road to be, etc., etc. And finally, in the settings, firstly, you have this little in the general tab, because we do have 4 different ones. So let's start with the general. You have the standard decoration, which is just regular roads as the game was released with. You have the V-Day, which I'm actually not too sure of, but I'm assuming it's just, or have a V. I don't know if that's Valentine's Day, actually. Because I do remember, I don't know if it was temporary or if this is actually what this is, but I do remember seeing just hearts and just kind of Valentine's Day kind of celebratory, designs and whatever you want to call it, lights. So that could be that. Or you could use Christmas, so you'd have Christmas trees at roundabouts, you'd have Christmas lights all over the street lamps, and just decorations, Christmassy decorations in general. And then you have just literally general settings as it describes itself, to be completely honest with you. This one would make as I have now in full screen, if I was to click this, it would put it in a small window. So that's actually to do with the whole game display itself. Fuel consumption. So if you want to actually simulate fuel usage during your free driving, you can tick that, which always would then require you to keep refueling at petrol stations when necessary. Virtual mirrors are just mirrors that you just have, mirrors that are always there so you don't rely on the vehicle mirrors themselves. Controls indication is just so the speedometer. You have like a little meter or a gauge in a way that shows how much of the gas, brake and clutch is being pressed down at any moment. So that's the controls indication. Violation messages. So if you tick this, it will tell you when you're speeding. It will remind you if you've gone past a red light, if you've done something you shouldn't have. It will let you know. And show the steering wheel is just, it shows the steering wheel of the vehicle. If you have your own steering wheel, you might not want to see the steering wheel in game. And braking path is literally just shows you the braking path as you drive. Graphic side of things, we literally just have, this is very, again, self-explanatory. So usual settings that you'd find in any game, any driving game specifically. So not much to go through there. You have your sound setting, not too much here. And your controls, which I've covered in a separate video titled how to set up a steering wheel for City Car Driving Simulator. You'll find it on my channel in my how-to playlist. And that's all really. And also, actually, one more thing, if you head to statistics, everything will be here. As this is a new profile, remember, this will be empty, and this will also be empty for you if we're just starting out. So anything you want to know from your driving, whether it's during missions, tasks, free driving, anything of the sort, you will find every little detail here. How much penalties, the time this is the time, actually, the duration, how long you were during that session, the penalties, the time that you gain the penalties from the start of the event, and you also have a button here for additional statistics, and as you can see, it goes into a lot more detail. So this is if you're really serious about learning to drive and if you really want to track your progress, this would be really, really key for you in progressing and in bettering your driving skills if you do tend to go down that route. And I believe records is empty because new profile, but your records will be here, of course, for each mission. And I think that's it. I hope this video hasn't been too long. I've tried to cover everything as quickly as possible. There's a lot of things to cover, so forgive me if this video is taking a little too long, but I hope it's been helpful. I hope that's been enough of a guide to guide you and get you started on a city car driving career, let's say. I hope you do enjoy the game if you have downloaded it. If not, I recommend you do, especially if you like driving. It is a lot of fun, and there are plenty of mods, whether you get them from the Steam Workshop or not. There's plenty to choose from, and if you're on Steam, you can get mods that are not from the Steam Workshop, so it's, that's an added benefit. And that's all. So thank you for watching. If you found this guide helpful and would like me to make another one, just give it a like, comment below what you'd like to see next, what sort of guide, what sort of tutorial, whether to do city car driving or any other game I have on my channel. And if you do have a game that you'd like to see or would like help on, let me know, and if it's possible for me to do so, then I'll do so as soon as possible. So thank you once again for watching, and take care.